qualifying marks in Rio.
CBC Headline News brought to you by Digicel, Barbados' fastest 4G network.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
And a very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Lord with the Budget Day edition of the CBC Evening News. And our top story, Finance Minister Chris Sinclair has made a near 3-hour budget presentation to Parliament, which, among other things, announced the appointment of all eligible temporary public officers to permanent posts, increased old age non-contributory pensions by $40 a month, and increased the bank asset tax from 0.2 to 0.35%. In the budget, the Finance Minister also allocated $5 million towards the initiation of a national cleanup and debushing program to be implemented over the next 5 months. The Finance Minister also announced a $50 million cut in approved expenditure across all ministries and a tax amnesty for taxpayers across various tax categories. And this will start from September 1st until February 15th next year. He also announced a national social responsibility levy from September 1st at a rate of 2% on all imports into Barbados. And this is to help finance care and improve the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. While Barbadians could soon be joining visitors in spending foreign currency to acquire duty-free items in Barbados, and Finance Minister Chris Sinclair says the matter should be reviewed over the next 3 months with an anticipation of the measures being in place before Christmas.
This proposal, sir, not only has the capacity to earn foreign exchange from the shopping of visitors from our region and even outside, but will also save foreign exchange since most Barbadians can have the option of no longer traveling in order to shop. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have already identified some areas in which it can happen, and these could be included the capital city of Bridgetown, Old Town, Hastings/Worthing on the south coast, and the 2 main ports of entry in Barbados.
Mr. Sinclair says, however, that there must be input from key stakeholders before such a measure can become law.
It will be important that we examine all of the pros and cons of such an initiative before moving to bring the legislative framework here to this House. In this regard, I propose establishing a special committee to review the initiative with a directive to report its findings and recommendations to me within 3 months. So we're not going to take a whole year. I want the findings back within 3 months so that a proposal can be brought to the Cabinet Committee on Economic Policy for review and forwarding to the main Cabinet for approval.
Well, Minister Sinclair says the committee will include officials from his ministry, representatives from the Central Bank, the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the Barbados Private Sector Association. Well, government's revenue for last year was up, but so too was its debt. As it relates to the increase in revenue, Mr. Sinclair says it was due to the successful measures outlined in last year's budget.
Total current revenue expanded by 5.5% or $136.1 million Barbados dollars. This strong revenue intake was bolstered by gains made from the land tax revenues, which increased by $65.7 million, and value-added tax VAT, which increased by $44 million. Excise taxes represented the third largest revenue gain of $36.5 million Barbados dollars.
Well, Minister Sinclair noted, however, that government debt was higher than the previous year.
At the end of December 2015, the stock of central government debt stood at, and this is the total debt, including NIS, Central Bank, and everybody, an estimated $12,134.8 million, or 138.4% of GDP at market prices. This represents an increase of $753.3 million, or 6.6% over 2014.
Well, amidst concerns that government may be contemplating limiting access to foreign exchange, Mr. Sinclair says there is no reason to do so. He gave this assurance while delivering the budget.
This government sees no reason for the introduction of any special measures to limit Barbadians and or businesses from accessing foreign exchange in Barbados. what is already provided for in the Exchange Control Act of Barbados is sufficient. Indeed, any casual observer of how the foreign exchange market has evolved in Barbados over the last 10 to 15 years would conclude that far from putting restrictions, both administrations have, in fact, liberalized controls progressively.
Well, the finance minister adds that as a small, vulnerable, open economy, Barbados' most important economic variable is its ability to earn, save and retain foreign exchange. He says it's the anchor that stabilizes the economy and best guarantees and secures economic expansion.
Though it is unacceptable, totally unacceptable, one can manage an economy with high unemployment, or soaring inflation, or even elevated levels of crime. But you absolutely cannot manage a small open economy like ours if you do not have reserves. So that any threats or obstacles to achieving that singular national objective must be immediately and, if necessary, continuously addressed until it is no longer a challenge.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, government is imposing what it calls a National Social Responsibility Levy of 2% on all imports, with a few exceptions, with effect from next month. According to Mr. Sinclair, the new levy is intended to offset the costs associated with financing public health care service provision on the island.
The expected earnings from the application of the levy on domestic output will be around $19.2 million. In addition, it is estimated in total that the new National Social Responsibility Levy will realize an additional revenues of $142.1 million that's for full financial year. But when prorated from September 1st, 2016 for this financial year, will yield $82 million this year.
Mr. Sinclair says goods intended for the manufacturing, agriculture and tourism sectors will be exempted as covered under existing legislation. He also identified a new fleet of vehicles for the Sanitation Service Authority and critical financing for the island's lone major healthcare facility as two of the key areas which will be addressed.
It is the intention of the government to place the resources garnered from this levy directly towards the financing of critical aspects of the public healthcare system in Barbados, particularly but not limited to the provisioning of our main general hospital, the Queen Elizabeth Hospital.
And Finance Minister Mr. Sinclair has announced that all temporary officers in the public with more than 3 years continuous service will be appointed. He says that this decision was taken because the temporary status has put the employees in an insecure position.
Cabinet has agreed that an initiative be launched immediately to put in place a working committee led by the Ministry of the Civil Service and including other relevant government departments, as well as representatives from workers' organizations. This committee will advise the Cabinet on the procedure, methodology and legal requirements for the execution of a program to appoint all temporary officers in the public service with more than 3 years continuous service at a threshold to be determined by the committee.
Well, the minister also revealed that old-aged and non-contributory pensions will be increased.
Over the years, certainly over the past 5 years, due to the very challenging economic and financial circumstances, several of our elderly folk who receive old age pensions have had to bear the burden of higher food and utility prices, even as they grapple with other serious challenges associated with aging. And ever mindful of the fact that it has been a while since government has accorded these individuals a positive adjustment from our end in their pensions to assist them in better coping with these challenges, we have determined that now is an appropriate time to do so. Accordingly, I propose effective October 1st, 2016 that old age non-contributory pensions be increased by $10 a week or $40 a month.
Well, there were not many people outside Parliament Yard this afternoon. Just a few members of the public turned out to witness the arrival of the parliamentarians. However, the action was within the gates of Parliament, where there was an increased number of police officers. Several of the MPs arrived from around 3 o'clock, with Opposition Leader Mia Mottley arriving at 3:30. At 10 minutes to 4, Finance Minister Chris Sinclair arrived, accompanied by his wife Arlene and daughter Shay. Shortly after that, the opposition leader and her team made their way into the lower chamber. Prime Minister Frundell Stewart arrived almost a minute afterwards. Independent MP Owen Arthur was greeted by one supporter on his arrival, and some of the few supporters on the outside shared their expectations.
Mr. Sinclair will give a very good budget.
I really need prices lower.
The budget, we're all hoping for the best, but I don't feel that at this moment with recession in the world that much can be done. We just got to wait on Almighty God and hope that things will work out for the better.
Well, stay with us. We'll have more news just after the break.
Don't let your data experience slow you down. Step up to Digicel, Barbados' fastest 4G network, more than twice as fast as the slow network. Get more with Digicel. Digicel, the fastest 4G network in Barbados. Dial *153# to sign up to Digicel today.
Only one strike, Scott. Name something a teenage boy might practice his kissing technique on.
It's kind of nasty, but his sister. Can I take it back?
Nah, that's your answer, man. We gonna...
Coming weekdays to CBC TV 8.
Hi everyone, I'm Cece and welcome to our new season of our reverse auction show, Bid Low, Win Big. The show where you can bid low and win big using your Flow mobile phone simply by texting the word bid and the amount you'd like to bid to the short code on your screen. Over the coming weeks, I'll be here at Promo Tech in the Dome Mall at Warren's, choosing different fantastic items for you to bid on. This week, I have pulled off the shelf a Hisense 40-inch HD Smart TV. It's the perfect TV for you to watch the Olympic Games showing right here on CBC TV 8. But in order for you to have a chance at winning this reverse auction, you have to start by bidding low. So here's how it works. So let's say you and two friends are bidding for this sweet new Hisense Smart TV, and you bid 5 cents, and both of your friends bid 1 cent. Well, then you win with a bid of 5 cents because yours was the lowest unique bid. Even though their bids were lower than yours, they bid the same amount, and so their bids were not unique. Remember, it has to be the lowest bid that no one else has sent in. So just remember, you have to have the lowest unique bid at closing midnight on Sunday to call this smart TV your very own. I'm Cece and you can join me each week where I'll have different fantastic items for you to bid on. Until next time, you know what to do. Keep on bidding low to win big.
Well, it's that time of year retailers tend to look forward to. Usually near the end of August, scores of people flock to the city to make sure that their children are well outfitted for the new school term. And with the school scheduled to start on September 12th, a CBC team visited the city to see how retailers are faring.
New school uniforms are one of the main obvious items on the list for back to school. Over at MAP's factory outlet, while they are not seeing the expected number of shoppers visiting in store to buy ready-made uniforms, they have been fully booked for special orders since July. Over at Abed's Swan Street, store manager Suzette Lane is anticipating an increase in traffic closer to the end of the month.
Sales have been slow as far as I'm concerned compared to last year and previous years. Right now it's picking up a little, but not as much as previous years. We're expecting that come the end of August, even into the first week of September, that we will see a boom in sales because persons tend to get the crop over festival out of the way and then back to school starts to kick in.
Managing Director of Woolworth, Martin Bryan, credits some of the reduced traffic to the later than usual start of the school term.
We haven't seen the back to school rushes yet. I think because last year when I checked the calendar, school went back in the first week in September, and this year is going back in the second week in September. So I think there's going to be like a week delay. So everything's going to be a week later. Well, I'm hoping so. We're seeing the numbers, but we're not seeing the volume of business that we had at the same time last year.
Over at Cave Shepherd, area retail manager Beverly Belgrave is remaining optimistic.
Sales this year have been steady. We haven't seen the rush that's usually associated with back to school, but based on what I've seen, the concentration has been on crop over. We still have 3-4 more weeks to go, and this year we have an additional week. School goes back in a week later. Payday is the end of the month, so we're hoping that we'll see a pickup in business.
Meantime, parent Vicky Yearwood is not waiting to get caught up in the rush.
I'm just out shopping with the kids. I got books already, just come to get the school clothes. Out not late. This is really, really late for me. Usually I wait and see how the kids progress and if they get bigger, if they get smaller and whatnot, and then I decide to get this stuff.
With the new school term a few weeks away, let's hope more shoppers take advantage of the fully stocked shelves soon.
And ahead, a look at some of the stories from around the region.
Countdown to 50.